Well, we need to give Tommy just a couple extra seconds.
Couple of extra seconds. Is somebody gonna appear up on the wall there?
It takes a while for Tommy to, so we need about 30
Oh,
seconds.
Okay, yeah, I got you, yeah. Hello, Charles. Good seeing you. Boy, we got a full complement today.
We're ready.
Compliment the compliment. Hello,
Okay,
Nick.
We're ready there. We're ready.
Are we on now? Okay. All rise. That's me. Get the invocation, please.
Let us pray. Gracious and Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you this evening. We just bring our business before you to the city of West Plains. Father, we ask that you would just put your guiding hands and give us wisdom to make the good decisions that the folks in West Plains need. Father, I just thank you for the weather, all the blessings we have in the area that we live in, all the city staff, the residents. Lord, I ask that you bless us and care for us as we move forward. We ask this in your name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mike?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Tom, you want to do your thing there?
Yes, sir. Daniel, stay standing up, please. I would like to introduce and welcome Daniel Clark, our new fire chief, and he officially started today.
Hello there.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, Mike, let's get it going.
First on the agenda, we have consideration of the consent agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Next, we have reading of the bills. Bill 4675 to become ordinance 4675, second reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains, Missouri to adopt the updated floodplain maps for the city of West Plains, Missouri.
Make a motion, Bill 4675 become ordinance 4675, second reading.
Second. Okay, Emily.
So this is the second reading of floodplain ordinance that was presented in December. Since December, we have had the new map available on the website for the public to view. We held a public hearing as part of the planning and zoning meeting last week as well. We've had a couple of citizen questions and things like that, but we had no substantial comments or issues with the map, I guess. So we feel like we're prepared. We've presented everything that we need to present to everyone. Like I said in December, this is not any substantial change to any of the development guidelines that we have for anybody in town. Basically, our ordinance will stay the same. It's just reflecting the new panel numbers for the map itself. If it's approved, the map will go into effect April 7th.
That's good. Motion? Right, yes, I do. Okay, any discussion, sorry. Discussion there is good. Okay, Mallory?
Bill 4675 to become ordinance 4675, second reading. Cotter.
Yes.
Hoplet.
Yes.
Almond.
Yes.
Dees.
Yes.
Merle.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Next, we have Bill 4676 to become ordinance 4676, second reading. An ordinance amending Chapter 44, Traffic and Vehicles of the Code of Ordinances of the City of West Plains, Missouri to add Section 44-13, leaving the scene of an accident.
Make a motion, Bill 4676 become ordinance 4676, second reading.
Second.
Chief?
This is a request for an additional city ordinance for leaving the scene of an accident. Currently, the way the ordinance is written, it has to be over $500 or have injury for an individual to be held responsible to report it. We want to follow the state's statute, and anyone that having an accident on a public thoroughfare is required to report to local law enforcement or to the
Questions,
It has been
discussion?
approved by the legal and it's,
Sorry. Any questions, discussion? Mallory?
Bill 4676.
Thank you, Shane.
4676, second reading. Cotter,
Yes.
Hopla,
Yes.
Holman.
Yes.
Nice,
yes,
Merle.
Yes.
Bill 4677 to become ordinance 4677, second reading. An ordinance approving a lease purchase transaction for the purpose of providing funds to refinance an outstanding lease obligation of the city of West Plains, Missouri, authorizing and approving related documents and authorizing certain other actions in connection therewith.
Make a motion, Bill 4677 become ordinance 4677, second reading.
second,
Todd?
Council, this was the refinancing of the water debt that we talked about last time. This is where we have the security of the Pine Street Tower put up. We got a rate of 1.09% on this approximate $2 million worth of debt. Even after underwriting costs and all of the, respective refinancing costs, our savings is going to be approximately $216,000. So, I mean, we're going from paying about 3% down to a little over 1%. So, I mean, it's a win-win situation for us. Does anybody have any more questions regarding this?
It's not. Mallory?
Bill 4676, become ordinance 4676, second reading. Cotter,
I believe it's 46.
77.
I'm sorry, that's what I said. no.
Yes.
Hopla,
Yes.
Holman.
Yes.
Nice,
yes,
Merle.
Yes.
Next, we have Bill 4678 to become ordinance 4678, first reading. An ordinance to repeal and replace the existing purchasing policy, ordinance 4239, for the city of West Plains, Missouri.
Make a motion, Bill 4678 become ordinance 4678, first reading.
Second.
Okay, Todd?
Council, this is a policy that we've looked at for approximately 3 months now on what to do with it. What we had out there in city ordinance was basically a good set of bones, but it didn't have much meat on it. So, I mean, we went through and looked at what we did, what other cities did, what needed to be documented, and basically put together, what we are currently doing and just formalized it. I mean, we put the necessary boilerplate stuff that we need for some of our grants in, and that's how we turned a 3-page policy into a 26-page purchasing manual. What this document will do is this is a one all-encompassing document. Employees can go to it and figure out what I need to do to how to buy stuff. Vendors can go to it and figure out, what they need to do to be involved in our purchasing. And the public can look at it and say, these are the steps that we're going through to make sure, everything's fair, everyone's being treated fairly and whatnot. It's like I said, it's a one and done deal. The question was asked, why are we doing this now? Typically, whenever you have these massive policy reviews, it's because something came down that we had to. It literally, there's nothing of that. It's just something we were looking at changing the purchasing threshold. Well, then we thought, well, maybe we could do some of this and we could do some of that. So it's literally just a revamping of what we got. This is basically broke down in, I want to give council a quick overview of what it is. So like I said, we can go through exactly what you guys are approving because we are making some changes. And I want to make sure everyone's comfortable with it. It's 5 chapters. Chapters 1 and chapters 5 are basically your boilerplate stuff. This is where your legal basis, chapter 1 is your legal basis, your definitions, applicable laws, and key individuals. Chapter 2 is probably going to be the most used in the policy. That's literally how you go about buying stuff. Who has the authority to buy stuff? How do we bid it? What bidding methods do we use? How do we deal with getting the bids back in? What contractual requirements we have and such. The biggest change that we made, or are recommending to make, is, as you guys know right now, our current purchasing limits are any director head can purchase up to $500. The purchasing agent is authorized up to $5,000. The city administrator is authorized up to $10,000, and anything over that, city council gets involved in over $10,000. That might have been great back when we wrote that, but at the end of the day, the city's a $40 million enterprise. It doesn't take much to spend $10,000. What we're recommending is basically upping some of those limits. If you look at the top, the inventory items, those are literally the inventory items that Jeff is going to purchase for the warehouse, the electrical, the plumbing, stuff like that. We're recommending anything $10,000 or less, Jeff can authorize that purchase on his own. Anything $10,000 to $25,000, that's when the purchasing agent and the city administrator get involved. And then in essence, that boosts that limit for council up to $25,000 and above. That's when council gets involved. We're also setting that same guidelines for any other, that bottom part, any other departmental goods. That's literally anything else that need is not inventory. We have the department head, that was at $500, we boosted that up to $1,000. When we originally wrote the purchasing policy, we didn't have the director level in there. So we added that, anything $1,000 to $5,000, that's when the director has approval for that. $5,000 to $25,000, the director and the city administrator gets involved. And then once again, over $25,000 is when we recommend, that's what's coming to council. Basically, for the 2 years I've been here, I've been watching what gets approved and how it is. Most of the stuff that's under the $25,000 almost seems to be, there's not much discussion over it. It's pretty much given to where council seems to be in agreement with what we're doing. It's when we get in those bigger, where we have the discussions where we want to make the most efficient use of council's time. Sure. We look at competitive bidding. When's bidding required? When's it not? That's all documented out in the policy. What constitutes the sole source? What agreements can we agree to? What can we get involved with state and federal bids? Things like that. That's documented out there. Our bidding methods. If you look at our current purchasing policy, it only talks about a request for bid. It does nothing to talk about a request for proposal or a request for qualification. We made sure to keep the request for bids to where the award is not just the lowest cost, but lowest cost and best value. So that way we do have some flexibility there to make sure we're getting not just the best price, but the best value for the city. And like I said, we document what it takes to do all of these. We also added a bunch of contract requirements in there. For example, requirements for bid and performance bond, what you need for insurance, how you verbalize a hold harmless agreement, prevailing wage, federal work authorization, that kind of boilerplate stuff. That's more of the stuff that you'll have checklists from a grant where it'll ask, do you have policies in place to do this? Do you have policies in place for, E-Verify, things like that, where now we can check that box and point blank say yes. Chapter 3 is where we get into getting outside of the normal purchasing policy. That's where it talks about how do you make emergency purchases? How do you, purchasing with price agreement purchases, more applicable laws and things like that. The other chapter we're spending a lot of time in probably is chapter 4. It's how you get rid of stuff. We kept it basically the way the verbiage is right now in the current purchasing policy, saying per charter, if it's real estate, it has to be sold by ordinance. That's per charter, it is what it is. Surplus property, $10,000 or less, can be disposed of with the city administrator's approval. Anything over $10,000 can be disposed of with city council's approval. So that way, when we're bringing those, police cars with blown engines worth maybe $1,000, $2,000, that's not really where council, is getting bang for the buck. Now, if we're getting rid of a $60,000 fire engine or something like that, that's where council really needs to be involved in that. So like I said, we're trying to figure out where that happy medium is for that. And chapter 5 is literally, this is your legal remedies and whatnot. How do your vendors protest what we do? How do you suspend or debar a vendor? What happens if you make a solicitation or award that's in violation of law? And then ethics and remedies. So like I said, there's a lot of boilerplate stuff in there. The biggest thing is that we're recommending is upping those purchasing limits to, equate our management structure that we have here at the city. I threw a lot at you quick, and like I said, there's a lot of pages that we sent out for you guys to review beforehand. What questions do y'all have?
I would just make sure that it's clear that the chart that you showed of the purchasing levels, those are already budgeted amounts. That those aren't new things. We've already gone through the budgeting process. We've already said, yes, we want to spend this much money. It's just taking out that middle piece. We've already said we want to spend.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think people will also be happy to know that there's a focus on going local first for
Yeah.
purchasing. That's always coming up.
We did add that. That wasn't in there to where we stayed with the West Plains Micropolitan to where our goal is, like I said, all else equal. We choose the person in West Plains first, then we choose Howe County, then we choose the counties surrounding Howe County, then we choose state of Missouri. Because like I said, we're aiming for that, like to go as local as much as we can.
Todd, I didn't look at the details real close. But it appears that most of your recommendations are consistent with the state procurement laws.
We tried to, Johnny. The thing that what we wanted, part of what took longer to bring this to council is we had it written, and then we went back and we reviewed it to make sure we were in compliance with uniform code and things like that. So for example, if we bought something today and decided to use it on a state project 5 years from now, we wouldn't automatically be disqualified because our policy and what the state required was out. So yeah, we took an effort to try to do that as much as feasible.
Yeah, that's pretty well done in the larger communities. They just carry that as inventory. They bid it, it's inventory, ready to be spent.
Yep.
Ready to be used at a moment's notice.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, Mallory.
Bill 4678 became ordinance 4678, first reading. Cotter,
Yes.
Topliff,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Earl.
Yes.
Bill 4679 to become ordinance 4679, first reading. An ordinance vacating two portions of excess right-of-way along Worley Drive in West Plains, Missouri.
Make a motion, Bill 4679 become ordinance 4679, first reading.
Second.
Okay, Dustin.
All right, council, this is a request that was brought to planning commission last week. What it actually does is just clears up some discrepancies in the 2011 survey. We've got an overhead here, and I'll show you. They're very small sections of road right-of-way that was left over from the survey. Real quickly, this is basically where the Hirsch property is, and this is Worley Drive that runs through here. You're basically talking about two small little slivers of excess right-of-way to clarify any cloud that might be on the title for the adjacent property owners. So by vacating this property, we'll revert back to the adjacent owners, and it has no value, no utilities on it to the city of West Plains.
Any questions of Dustin?
So who's it titled to now?
It's city right-of-way
Okay.
right now.
So there's no city improvements done. So we're just suggesting that it goes to those adjacent property owners.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's beyond our right-of-way bounds.
We don't need it.
No.
Any other question? Mallory.
Bill 4679 became ordinance 4679, first reading. Cotter,
Yes.
Topliff,
Yes.
Holman.
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Earl.
Yes.
All right. Bill 1125 to become resolution 1125. A resolution to amend section 1 in the personnel manual of the city of West Plains employees to repeal and replace relatives in the city service and employment of conflict of interest relationships.
Make a motion, Bill 1125 become resolution 1125.
Second.
Okay.
Good evening.
Okay, Sherry.
This was tabled last month. We did a little more research on, the personal and business relationships, and we didn't, the point was brought that relationships is a pretty broad term. So, we added, a little blurb that says, that if the situation occurs, the city administrator will have full authority to decide what is best for the interest of the city, just to make sure that we don't have a conflict in a group.
Questions, anyone? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Bill 1126 to become Resolution 1126. A resolution of the City of West Plains, Missouri, awarding to provide an in-kind contribution of $643,737 cash and $500,000 in utility improvements to the Delta Regional Authority, DRA, and to designate, appoint, and give authority to the city administrator to perform certain duties and administration for the DRA. And in the event of an administration change, the new city administrator shall continue to have such authority.
Make a motion, Bill 1126 become Resolution 1126.
Second.
Hi, Emily.
All right, so this is the DRA grant that we applied for as part of the US 160 overpass improvement. This is $1 million grant that we'll be receiving from the DRA to go toward that project. And basically, this is just signing off to assure that the city is contributing and committing to the resources we indicated in our application.
Any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple. What all entails the $500,000 in utility improvements? What does that include?
That's relocation of utility lines, and Jeff can explain it better.
Yeah, Johnny, what it is that because the way that comes over the railroad tracks, we're gonna have to raise the transmission line, and it'll be rework the water and sewer lines too. So it'd be all three disciplines.
So is the city crews going to be doing that?
City crews, that's how we figured that amount was in that, but we also figured enough in there so it could be contracted.
Okay, so is that the
That's the
634,000 cash?
No, that's
No.
500,000.
That's the 500,000.
Okay, so what's the cash going to be used for?
This is our match. It's part
So
of the
it's
match
same
of the,
overpass?
yes,
Okay,
it's part of the match of the overall project.
yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Bill 1127 to become Resolution 1127. A resolution to extend the temporary emergency paid sick leave due to the COVID-19 state of Missouri emergency declaration.
Make a motion, Bill 1127 become Resolution 1127.
Second.
Again, good evening. As you know, they passed the FFCRA back in April, and that's extended to December 31st. But as of December 31st, when they did the new act, they didn't include the 80 hours of its emergency paid sick leave or the expanded FMLA where you get 2/3 if your children are out of school. So with that being said, we had employees before Christmas that were out, and then we had employees right at Christmas. And so with that, we're asking if we could extend that 80-hour and that 2/3 till March 31st, which is the end of the Missouri Declaration. What that would allow is those that have had, become COVID could go ahead and use their 80 hours. We don't get, the way the bill's written, because we're a municipality, we don't get reimbursed for it anyway. So it's just a matter of whether that employee has to use their own sick leave or if they can use this COVID sick leave or the 2/3 from the family. So we felt like that how do you stop in the middle? So we had 13 people sick from 12/28 till 1/12 that tested positive. So like they were kind of on the line. It was like, no, you get it for these days, but you can't get it. So we just felt like it was fair, I guess, maybe the best way to say that, till March. Now, they don't get more when the year rolled over as of January 1. If they used it in November, they don't get more hours, they just have it still available. So we're just asking that we extend, and we'll use the same qualifications that were in before. Like they have to have a test, they have to have a doctor's note, and they'll use all those qualifications in order for them to get to use.
Question?
Just a comment, may I? And since it's January 19th, if council does approve this, we would retroactive to January 1st for those employees that had it since January.
Sure. Makes sense.
So you do require a medical slip that
Yes.
says they are in fact COVID.
Actually, the law says that we have to require, because if they audit this and come back, I mean, at some point, if we do get to reclaim this money, if they change it, which I've read different articles, some say that the municipalities will be included later, but we have to have documentation either way.
So are you seeing a trend of the persons getting the virus? Are you seeing a trend down, or is it up? Or are you seeing a how?
We had a good spike between Christmas and New Year's. We've had, it seems like it's going down, but I had 2 today. So it's still out there.
That's very good.
And the numbers for West Plains over the weekend were pretty good. They came out to 10 today. So that's lower than it's been, so hopefully that's a positive sign.
Thank you.
Just might be nitpicking a little bit here, but it says this resolution will be in full force and effect from and after the date of its passage or approval. Should we maybe rewrite that to be retroactively effective to January 1?
Probably should, and I overlooked that. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem. I think that
Can
probably
we-
make more sense in the future if you want.
Council, can we do that? Is that everybody okay?
Before.
Can we make that motion to go with that then,
We
please?
can just rewrite that.
Just make a motion that we amend it to be retroactive
Mhm.
to January 1st.
Thank you. I overlooked that. Sorry.
Did you second that?
Yes, I
You did. Any other discussion? All those in favor say okay.
Okay.
Opposed? Yeah.
Thank you.
Your turn. All right. We got three bid items to bring for you tonight. And the first one is a new divider curtain and wall padding for the civic center. If approved, this would replace the existing wall padding and curtain with black curtain, new wall padding. I do have 3 bidders there that provided bid for me. As you can see, they do have a budget amount of $40,000, which would come out of capital improvements, would be funded through capital improvements. Alco is the low bidder for the curtain and the wall padding at $37,259. I do want to mention that if it is approved, Alco actually has an employee here in West Plains that will actually help. So there's some local help there. The guy that estimated actually lives here in West Plains.
Make a motion, we approve the bid of Alco's, St. Louis, Missouri, $37,259 for a divider curtain and wall padding for the civic center.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Okay, next item I have is 2 additional steel poles for the 69 kV rebuild. If you remember last month, we did mention that there was a possibility that I would be back this month. And this is due to the rerouting that we had to do in that area. But this is for 2 steel poles and the anchors for those poles.
We had, looks like 7 bidders, excuse me, 6 bidders. The low bid there of the 6 bidders was Techline at a total price of $120,942. This would come from poles, towers, and fixtures budget, and he has a remaining budget of $406,355.
Make a motion that we approve the bid of Techline for steel poles for $120,942.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Okay, the last bid item I have tonight, this is also for the 69 kV rebuild. This is right-of-way clearing for that future power line. Both and Associates took bids for us. Looks like we had 4 bidders. The low bid was Midwest Services Group with a total bid of $76,633.26. This would, if approved, come out of contracted services. And he has a remaining balance of $131,435.
Make a motion that we approve the bid of Midwest Services Group for $76,633.26 for right-of-way clearing.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Yeah, I do have one last item. We've got a couple of vehicles I would like to get the surplus property and get rid of. The first one was a 1998 Ford F-80 bucket truck from the electric department. And the next item is a 1998 Ford 350 Jamboree RV. This was donated by the Drug Task Force many years ago. We've upkept and taken care of it, and we no longer need it. I would like to get rid of it.
Make a motion, we approve the sale of surplus property as listed.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Thank you, Jeff.
Last item for council action is the planning and zoning recommendations.
All right, council, this item was brought to planning and zoning last week by Mr. Robert Bertram. It's a minor subdivision just north of the Stony Brook subdivision off of K Highway. Staff has reviewed the requirements for the subdivision requirements, and it has met all the minimum requirements for lot size, setbacks, and utilities. The developer is going to be working with Jeff Hanshaw of Public Works, however, to do a little bit of sewer rehab in that area. Other than that, there's no issues, and planning and zoning did recommend for approval.
You want to show them what they're looking at,
Yeah,
please?
absolutely. So, you guys are all familiar with Stony Brook subdivision out there. This is basically the York Road on Trail Ridge Lane. So all the houses are developed here and down on the bottom. So these are basically 4 1-acre lots. It really the buildable area is right up through here. It tails off pretty hard on the backside. Any questions? I know that's a lot real quick, but it's pretty basic and everything.
So what are the changes needed for?
This is just it was not platted into individual lots, so we're just approving it plat for sale of individual lots.
So are they at a size where they are buildable?
They are front side, probably more conducive to like a walkout. On the
Okay.
back side, because the tail's out pretty hard, but it's, yeah,
And how is that zoned?
that's R2.
Okay.
Robert, you have anything you wanted to add? Okay. He is here in the audience if you have questions.
Make a motion that we approve the recommendations of the planning commission.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Next, we have the finance director's report.
Council, I sent a bunch of information out earlier today. I sent out sales tax numbers. Our sales tax numbers for January came in pretty good. They're really close to budget, within like $2,000 within budget. I like them higher, but as long as I hit budget, I'm happy on that. I do want to point out that, at this point, we've got 9 months of the fiscal year completed. We're still sitting at about 117 days cash on hand. On the city side, we're sitting at about 140 or 242 days cash on hand on the utility side, so we're still sitting healthy there. Our sales tax updates, like I said, we've actually got 10 months worth of sales tax data since I've already got January. If you compare where we are in the fiscal year right now versus where we were last year, even with COVID and everything that's gone on since April, our sales tax collections are up a little over 4%, or approximately $118,000. Our use tax receipts are up about $116,000, or 37%. So like I said, we've been blessed with really good sales tax revenues throughout this time. Similar to where if you look at calendar year 2019 to calendar year 20, our sales tax receipts, they're up about almost 5.5%, or $182,000, and our use tax receipts are up about 22%, or about $92,000. So we're looking real good there. I also want to update council. December and January is when we receive our real estate and personal property tax receipts from the county collector. Most everything we get, like I said, Dennis collects the money in November and December, and we get that in December and January. Most, like I said, that's pretty much what we get. So far for those 2 months this year, we've received $533,000. That's within $5,000 of what we received last year. So I mean, we're pretty spot on there too. Originally, I was concerned that we may have more delinquent, real estate taxes with the economy and such. But I mean, concerned with the COVID, things seem to be right on with how things are going there. So I mean, our collections are there. Other than that, I mean, finance-wise, I know going into this whole year, we've been kind of spooked, but like I said, we've been blessed throughout the whole process. Does anybody have any questions, any more questions for me? Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Todd.
Mayor and council, for my report, this is a quick update with approval of the DRA resolution. We are still waiting on approval from CDBG mitigation funds of $2.5 million, which looks promising, and $2 million from the EDA that we're hoping to hear in March that also look promising. And we had a conversation last week with MoDOT, and we should be hopefully soon getting an agreement from them in the next couple of weeks for $2 million from multimodal out of MoDOT. So things are falling in place, and it's just taking time with COVID, but hopefully everything will come to fruition soon. We also received last week from MoDOT that the Governor's Transportation Cost Share Program funds of $1,230,639 for City of West Plains Medical District roadway expansion application was restored by the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission at their January 6, 2021 meeting. The change is due to the reimbursement of CARES Act funding to the state road fund by Governor Parsons. So now the city is in a position that we get to choose whether we use the governor's cost share, which is 1.2 million, or the MoDOT cost share we applied of, which is about 300,000. The MoDOT cost share only deals with the break and access. The governor cost share deals with the break and access plus realigning of TO Drive to Alaska. We have to make a decision fairly soon. There are some right-of-way acquisitions we got to make, and that's going to help us make the final decision. We can do that. Because unfortunately, these funds expire at the end of this fiscal year, June 30th. They got to basically an application in to re-obligate, which they think is promising for next year. But there's no guarantee. So we're trying to make that decision. The proposal of an integrated plan for public work was presented at the January 12th, 2021 City Council work session. As you saw, did not make an agenda this evening. The reason is we are still working on agreement with MQA, HDR, and the City of West Plains. Our goal is to present the agreement at the budget work session or the next city council meeting on February 22nd of this year. Our feeling, though, is there's still some confusion by council on the integrated plan. So if we need to have another work session or so, just to better explain that, before that time, please let us know. We'd be glad to. But I think because we gave you a lot of information on January 12th. So if we need to do more and just focus on integrated plan, please let us know. Splash pad update. 1 month ago, workers from All Inclusive Rec installed the plumbing and poured a concrete pad for the new splash pad at the Butler's Children's Park. City crews have also built the electric and water utilities to the pad. And next up for city crews will be the sewer hookup and the construction of a retaining wall. The equipment for the splash pad is currently being fabricated, and pending bad weather, the equipment should be installed sometime in late March or early April. So it is on track to open this spring. We're also working on a new dog park, which will be located in Lincoln Park. That's not right. Lofton Park. Yeah, Todd, what you do to me? Sorry. The new ballpark, which will be located in Lofton Park, has been prepped by city crews and a fence surrounding the park has been installed. Bids are now open for the dog park equipment, which is being secured through the purchasing department. I believe Jeff's already received 3 bids for that. And then just a last minute thing, Southern Hills renovations. You saw the demolition of the old insurance Penmac building has been completed. Demolition of the Extreme Audio building is almost complete. Sears building is supposed to be next. Circle C&K Clothing has been moved to their new location, is back open. Even though it doesn't have a sign yet, it is back open. Construction has taken place on the existing strip where Harbor Freight and Birch Outlet is going. The mall area is blocked off for exterior renovations, but Shoe Sensation in Monty remains open for business. And Mayor, Council, that's the end of my report.
Anything else? Come for the council.
I just wanted to say I really appreciate the department reports this month. They're very concise and easy to read. And I
Do that,
appreciate
yeah.
that.
Good point.
We did a test in a department report, so we wanted to try something new, and so thank you for recognizing.
Looks great.
Very good. You bet. I'll take these pages down.
You got to thank Emily in the planning department for that,
Right.
with all the input from other staff. So thank you.
Anything else? Come for the council. We stand adjourned. Until next time.